First thing we wanted to ask you was give us like your real feedback on our cold email. Was it good? Was it bad? Give us your honest thoughts.
Super solid. Loved the subject line. I mean, like
Okay.
in a cold email, that's everything. It's like in short form video, you've got 1 second, 2 seconds maybe to catch someone's attention and make sure that they don't scroll to the next video. Same thing in email. I mean, like I'm super slammed, backlogged with emails, and subject got me to open it. Yeah, you got my attention. Email's real solid. I opened it up now. You guys are good at telling the story. so feedback there's positive.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, Connor, you want to give a quick intro on us?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Connor. We're both students. So I'm at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix. We're both from Scottsdale, but Camden actually just moved out to Amsterdam. What's your university called?
University of Amsterdam. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. University of Amsterdam. We met through mutual friend. I worked for a guy. His dad worked there. Got connected to Camden, and then it's kind of one of those things where you just meet somebody who's like-minded, which I think is fairly rare. And so we kind of connected, and we both listened to the My First Million pod, so that kind of good kind of linking point. Anyway, so we started meeting. We meet once a week, and we just kind of talk about what we're interested in at the time, and we've kind of hit this point where we want to meet more like-minded people, and just kind of widen our circle. And so that's kind of Camden found you and reached out, and here we are.
Sweet. Yeah, so Sean's how I ended up reaching you. So Connor actually cold emailed Sean, give like the 30-second rundown on that, and that's how I kind of did a deep dive into Sean, and that's how I ended up finding you. Connor, you want to summarize the cold email?
Yeah. So do you listen to the pod every week?
Not every week, but dude, avid listener. Like, My First Million is what got me through the pandemic, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
I was just like getting in the groove at the gym, and I was like, all right, let me get a couple podcasts to start listening to, and like I stumbled across My First Million, and Sean was only a couple episodes in then. I don't think Sam had joined on a regular basis at that point, and I like started listening to it, really got in my groove at the gym, and it's like everything in the world shut down. And so like I was trying to keep myself from going crazy. Like my job changed to remote and everything like that. I moved to Boston, like to live in this new city, to try this new job, and then everything shut down. So I'm like stuck in this house with people that I don't know, living in this room, and like huge My First Million listener. Again, like being a part of that is how I, or listening to that, having that mindset is like how I eventually got some exposure to Sean, like through the business giveaway thing that he did. I met like some of my best mentors through that. Like after that, I've had an opportunity to work directly with Sean on another project together, which was super solid, and learned a ton from him. And then also Andrew Gazdeki, the founder of what used to be MicroAcquire, and now it's acquire.com. Established a really strong relationship with him throughout that process as well. He was like the biggest investor in the project that we were working on, to acquire a business from there and try to grow it. And I ended up having weekly mentoring calls with him as well, like completely separate from the business, just because he's got such a wealth of knowledge. I think he's now like probably on his third company that's got a 50 million plus valuation, all this stuff. And like,
that's
he's super open to giving advice. All of that again comes because I was interested in listening to this podcast and like just decided to be biased toward action, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of people listen to it. Like millions of people listen to their podcast every year. There's only a couple people that actually execute these ideas and actually take action. And that's like part of why I was super open to calling with you folks, is like, it seems like you guys are very similarly minded as well, where you're like, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's talk to people. Let's break things. Let's put our ideas out there. A lot of people in the world are like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. They get their dopamine hit from talking about the idea, and then they never actually go through and execute it.
Yeah, me and Connor were just talking about that. Like, that's the problem with networking events. You go through and it's like 90% of people are just like, oh, I have this great idea, and that's as far as they ever go. So yeah, totally feel you on that one.
Yeah, that's super cool though. I think having mentors like that I mean, that's probably more valuable than, even being a part of the business itself. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
super cool opportunity.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanna ask you about your company in a second, but first, I mean, what do you lean on these mentors for? I think there's millions of questions that you could ask them, but there's only a handful of ones that really provide you value. And so, what do you focus on asking these mentors, or what do you try to learn from them?
Well, one of the things that I kind of had to grow into, it didn't happen at first when I was meeting with Andrew, but like when we first started, right? Well, I was just calling him on a weekly basis, like, "Hey, I'm doing this, this, and this about the business. What would you do differently?" Or here's where I'm struggling. What would you do differently? Not really preparing, to be honest. Like just turning up, like I did with you guys. Like, "Hey, I'm just calling with this guy," and like after a while, I realized, and I told him this, like, "Hey, like you gave me X number of thousands of dollars to buy this business and gave me some support and like let me use your lawyer and all this stuff like that. That was super generous of you, but his time is way more valuable than that."
Right.
So one of the things that I started doing, and I think it's part of why most like mentor-mentee relationships don't work well, is because like the mentee doesn't put enough time into being intentional about what they're struggling with, where they have gaps and what they're learning on, and what that person's expertise is. So, the way that I would speak with a mentor whose expertise is in one realm is completely different than the way I'd speak with a mentor who's in a different realm. I tried to be really purposeful about evaluating my weaknesses, where I found there to be areas for growth, and where, the person that I'm about to meet with has demonstrated expertise in that realm, or has offered advice in that realm in the past. I started being really general, like, here's how life is going, here's blah, 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 here's this, this, and that, here's some of my challenges, here's some of the wins. Then I realized I was basically giving them an investor update every week, and I don't need to do that because I was already mailing it out every month. So I started to be really intentional. I'm having a specific problem with this customer. Can you help me with this?
Yep.
I'm having a very specific problem trying to grow in this channel, right? And then I was able to work through a strategy with Andrew on some of this stuff and go implement it. And then, it kind of like, if you're on the mentee side of things, that relationship starts to fuel itself at that point because you've got results to speak about. We're talking like, if I get advice from him, we build a game plan together on how to solve a specific problem. I go solve it and I come back and I'm like, dude, thank you so much. I learned this. Here's the result that you helped drive. That's what ultimately drives value back to the mentor and wants them to continue to be involved in the relationship. And that's honestly, that's why, like, in my mind, a lot of mentor-mentee relationships break is it has to be valuable for the mentor too. Either you have to teach them something, or you have to, in some ways, mentors are trying to give back. They're trying to be generous with their time. You've got to let them know that their time is helping move the needle for you. Otherwise, they're not going to prioritize it. So, I mean, again, you mentioned it, and I told it, I said that to Andrew. I've said it to Sean and to the other investors in that group, right? The fact that they were willing to trust me and help enable me to try something new. And ultimately, it didn't end up going the way we wanted. So I can give you like the high and low on that in a couple of seconds. But the fact that they were willing to mentor me and invest in me and help me grow, that alone, the value that I've derived from that is so much higher than the dollar value that they, put in the bank account for us to go buy that business.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I feel like you just saved me at least a couple years. I'm definitely going to be thinking about that next time I'm talking to a mentor. Let's talk about the business. So me and Connor did a little bit of research. Basically, you bought business 100K. It was called Sold Stock from MicroAcquire, now Acquire.com. You gave a couple monthly updates, and then the last one I could find was August 21st. You said something along the lines of, this month hasn't been great, but we've learned some important lessons, and here's it all. You kind of spelled it out. So me and Connor, we tried to track down the website. We couldn't find it. I assume maybe it's a Shopify app, and so it doesn't have a website. But that's what we know. I'll let you fill in the blanks and tell the story as you want it.
Back to the beginning, right? Like basically connected with 12-ish different investors on Twitter who were willing to give us some of their money to like some young kid coming out of school with no experience to go try and buy a business and flip it. I don't think any one of those people had an expectation that I was going to double or triple their money. I did. So that was the expectation I set for myself, is like, let's get everyone their money back and then some. The deal, we structured it in a way that I wouldn't make a cent off of it. I was very purposeful about this. I wouldn't make a cent off of it until we at least tripled the value of the business. And that was
Yep.
to like kind of give me a chip on my shoulder and not allow me to be complacent and be like, hey, these guys gave me all their money. I went and bought something and now I own something that's super valuable and I don't have to do anything to it. I don't have to make it grow. The deal was structured in a way that would, kind of reinforce this growth mindset with me. Reinvest all the profits to try and grow, not pay myself a salary and get comfortable, because those people weren't giving it away as charity. They're giving it away at least at a minimum to try and give me the opportunity to learn a lesson on how to grow. Somewhere between market trends being difficult, me not giving it the time that it deserved, and honestly, I feel like that app had grown just about to, near the potential that it could. And trying to understand the Shopify app ecosystem, which I had no understanding of when we first jumped into this business head first. We tried as hard as we could. This is me, a team of contractors, Andrew helping intervene and trying to, provide some advice.
Yeah.
Sean trying to help him provide some advice. Ben Levy, who works with Sean, I had a call with him, pretty frequently trying to talk about this. So how do I grow it? What would you do? Talk to a lot of people, even crowdsourced advice from Twitter, right? And be like, hey, when I'm hitting a plateau, when you hit a plateau in your business, what do? Do you try something different? Do you keep trying to do the same thing? Reached out to other people who grew Shopify apps, learned a ton from them. Long and short of it came to, we were able to grow revenue right off the bat by like 15 to 20%. And that's not because of anything I did. That was because of external market forces, right? Shopify changed the revenue share agreement. Basically, over my entire time managing it, I was able to slightly shift our mode to being more profitable. So we were focusing on a segment of customers that were higher paying to try and reduce our server costs, and focus on the customers that we were making money on, not serving the ones that we were losing money on. That's really the only thing that I can take credit for. I tried my darndest. I learned a ton, talked to different people, extracted a lot of valuable lessons for myself. But as far as monetary value for the business goes, we ended up selling it for, just at the end of 2022. We ended up selling it for the same amount that we bought it for. I made a joke with the investors, and I'm like, I give you above market returns, because at the time that they bought it for me, the market was bumping. And like since then, with the pandemic and inflation and all this stuff, like interest rates, the stock market has like taken a total tank since then. Crypto took a total bath. So I'm like, hey, if you put your money in crypto, this is how much you would have lost. If you put your money in the S&P, this is how much you would have lost. But because you gave your money to me, I learned a bunch of lessons, and you got you got all your money back. That's kind of a joke, but I think it ended up in the right place. And the reason why you can't find it at the URL that I used to have it at, soldstock.io, is because the new buyer's like overhauling the branding and all this stuff and making his own website for it. He is completely aware of the Shopify app ecosystem. He's got an understanding of how to run it. He's got a whole portfolio of apps, and he's going to basically use this as an opportunity to cash flow on his initial investment. So he put his investment in. He sees it as a great cash flow opportunity. And that's honestly this type of business, the one we were looking at, where there's not much virality, there's not a mechanism to encourage these shops to share it with someone else. Honestly, we've provided utility to a small percentage of shops that care just about, creating scarcity for their customers without adding on all these other add-ons. So there are other apps that do the same thing, but ours was focused on doing one thing really, really, really well. And I think it had tapped near its market potential with that. People that owned it before us did a great job of growing it. And what I did was a decent job at managing it and operating it, enough so to the fact that someone was willing to buy it for the same amount later. We were able to give the investors their money back. But at the end of the day, the real value that was reaped from that, and again, I joke because the investors could have just left their money in the bank and it would have done the same thing. The real value that was reaped from that was the lessons that I learned, the network that I was able to build from that, and honestly being able to tell this story pretty candidly and tell people not everything turns out the way you want, but if you try to capitalize on everything, right? If you view dollar signs only as your measure of success, high likelihood, especially when the rest of the market crashes and stuff like we've been dealing with over the last year and a half, 2 years. If that's where you're driving your satisfaction from, is that's how you're measuring your success, you are going to be super frustrated at the end of the day, because a lot of this stuff you can't control. The part of the lesson there was like how much I was able to learn from people, tap into people, learn how to interact with a mentor in a way that creates value for both people. In the same way, money doesn't matter. It wasn't going to be life-changing either way. And the fact that I was able to like be a decent steward of these people's money, doing as well as I can, in full honesty, like spending every single cent as though it were mine, even though it weren't. That taught me a lesson all on its own. I learned how and why to write investor updates. I learned how it sucks for investors when I forgot to write an update and they're like, yo, what's going on with my money? I learned about building in public. I was able to share all this stuff on Twitter. And I built relationships with people like Andrew. I'm inviting him to my wedding. Like that's how much I'm like, dude, you've
That's
been
awesome.
such an instrumental part of my life, like developing me into the person I am. All of that came because all these people were crazy enough to give their money to a kid from Twitter, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What happened with the build in public though, right? Like, I mean, the last update I saw was August 21st. Is that something that am I missing it, or did you stop giving the public updates?
Yeah, we went dark for like a year, and that was a decision that I made almost entirely unilaterally, but like I didn't see it moving the needle as much as I thought. In the beginning, it was kind of like a vanity metric, I guess. Like I was getting page views from that. I got a couple subscribers from that. Like I was driving my own personal following on Twitter because of that, but that wasn't helping grow the business. And it was in, if I measured the wrong metric, which was not, the things that are not directly contributing to the value of the business, it was doing all right, right? Like I could get 50, 100,000 impressions on Twitter, like sending all these tweets. A lot of people paid attention to it. Sean retweeted my stuff, which made me feel cool, stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, a lot of the reason why Build in Public works for a lot of people is because they're able to find themselves in a community that is able to support and, help reinforce what they're doing. That's what drives the most value for people, is like having some accountability, having a community of people cheering for them. For me, I found that I was spending more time writing Twitter threads than I was like trying to grow this business.
Yeah.
And again, the sole focus there was trying to be a good steward of these people's money. And when I didn't see that moving the needle as much as I thought anymore, I decided to like pretty quietly pull the plug on it. I didn't want to be like a super clickbaity guy and tweet like, this is why I'm not building in public anymore. Because there were people on there who were supportive. There were people on there who were following along and cheering along, and like folks like you guys who, a couple of years later, like dig up the threads and derive some value from it. So it wasn't like abandoning that idea totally. It wasn't even like I'm done with Build in Public. I think there are tons of projects that works for, and it goes really well. Part of it is was me trying to balance starting a full-time job with keeping this as my side hustle. And if it's a side hustle, I wanted to, Pareto rule. If there's like 20% of the work that drives 80% of the results, and I only had enough time to give it 20% of the time it deserved, I was going to focus on the one that drove 80% of the results.
No, that's amazing that you had that presence of mind to see that and to choose to do that.
I wouldn't say I was wise or take credit for it or anything. It's just trying to be retrospective and being intentional with my time. Like, didn't want to pour my time into anything that didn't turn out the way it was supposed to, basically.
Yeah, that's really cool. Quick question for you. I know, before I think you kind of nailed it on the head. You were mentioning how like having a bias towards action, and obviously I think the goal for entrepreneurs is not to have a 1-for-1 or even a 1-for-2, but just kind of have as many shots on target as possible, and hopefully one of them converts. So now that your hands are off this one, I know you're an engineer. Are you working on any project, or I think you're working on Rivian right now? But do you have a new side project?
Always have more projects. So and you got super close to saying one of my favorite sayings, so I'm just gonna like regurgitate and say here like everyone says, and it's super corny, like, oh, like shoot for the moon. If you don't make it, you'll land among the stars. Like, honestly, if you shoot for the moon and you miss the moon. No one cares about landing among the stars. You want to land on the moon, but the fact of the matter is you've got to keep shooting at the moon. Even if you miss, like you're going to figure it out. Something's going to land. And there's a large factor of success not enough people take or give credit for, is like things that are out of your control. Luck, market trends, someone being nice and, seeing your tweet on Twitter, your cold email and being like, hey, I want to give my money to this guy. Like you can't control those things. What you can control is like your surface area for those things to run into you, and increasing your surface area for luck, like for that to precipitate, is just like continuing to take shots. So there's a ton of projects I try over and over and over again. It doesn't work. Keep going. One of the things that like a cool story I like to draw is like Tim Ferriss. Before he wrote the 4-day work week, like 4-hour work week, no one really knows what he did. Like he was doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Like he had a nutritional supplements company that failed. He had a gym in Thailand. I think he got like shut down by the Thai mafia or something like that. He like wrote a book that didn't do well. he was doing a
Wow.
bunch of stuff, taking a lot of shots. One of them ended up landing, and that was able to give him the platform that he's got now to keep doing what he's doing, and keep swinging and hitting the moon
Right.
over and over and over again, because he's got a formula. He's got enough momentum going with him. There's a lot of stuff that I'm trying. So the podcast is one. The Next Bite podcast is one thing that I'm focusing on right now. Sounds very similar to you guys meeting each other. Met this guy, working with him in a research lab at school. We just clicked right away. I'm like, you're my mental counterpart on a lot of this stuff, really focused on entrepreneurship. We found our way out of the research lab because we were frustrated that no one was commercializing this stuff. And we're swinging on a lot of ideas together. So one of the things we're working on right now, and it's not fully baked, planning on leveraging some form of using GPT for what GPT is good for, using humans for what humans are good for, and not just making a package for GPT, but adding making real value add for people who are executives in tech companies to try and understand large amounts of data. What's going on? Kind of systematizing what a chief of staff does for a chief executive.
Okay.
Using the skill set that we've built in the podcast, turning complex ideas into something that we can we try to make it that anyone and everyone can understand. Using that that's something like that distillation. I feel like AI can't really do that yet. Doing that in conjunction with, we use GPT to research for the podcast, using the stack that we've built for that to try and understand large amounts of content and distill it for a tech executive who's willing to pay for that to have a really solid understanding of a lot of information, make it complex, make it current events, make it things that are relevant to them from competing companies, stuff like that. The idea is it's not fully baked yet, but the idea is to basically make a chief of staff in your pocket, a virtual assistant for executives to understand all that's going on in the world and make it actionable for them to be able to do better in their jobs.
Yeah, nice. Okay, I know you got to run in a minute, but I want to ask you one more question. So Connor cold emailed Sean. Sean essentially agreed to hop on a call with me, Connor, and one of our other friends. So we've seen your 2-cent trick. You Venmoed Sean 2 cents. Do you have any quick tips, any ideas for us to impress Sean?
Oh man, you've got to keep trying, because I tried to get Sean's attention a bunch of times, and I probably did, and he's like, you got to keep trying, but one of the main things you can do, and I'm not sure what you're even going to talk to Sean about, if you can, you've got to try and add value for him. There's a lot of people trying to get people's attention like that, because Sean's a focal for this entrepreneurial energy, plus people who are biased toward action and builders and stuff like that. You've got to add value for him if you can. And a lot of the way that people do stuff and made it inside his fold, right? He's got a team of people working on Slack with him and stuff like that. A lot of the way that people have got in there is by directly adding value for him. So there's some guy who offered to completely overhaul Sean's website, and then he did it, and then that got him inside, and Sean's like, yeah, I want to work with you. There's another guy offered to basically run his writing course, his power writing course for him.
Wow.
And it was like, here's how I'd run it, here's how I'd do it better. I took the course, here's how I think you can improve. And that guy, Andre, total baller, got pulled in, and Sean paid attention to him and got him inside. So, I don't know if what you're going to talk to Sean about is asking for money, asking for advice, ask to work with him and just learn more. But I just do everything you can to try and make it a valuable thing for him. Similar way we were just talking about mentors, you want to demonstrate to them that the time that they're investing in you is worth it. It's moving the needle. I do whatever you can, and I can't prescribe 2 cents on Venmo or something like that. But to try and demonstrate to him that, if he's willing to hop on a call with you guys, that the time that he's willing to invest in you, that there's value that he will reap from that as well. Because that's honestly how you keep people to continue to pay attention to you until you're worth something, right? We're all just hustling. We're all trying to get made. Someday there will be people reaching out to us every day, asking to talk. Until then, all we're trying to do is add value for other people, learn as much as we can, and then parlay that into our own success.
Yeah, dude,
Absolutely.
I love that mindset. That's really good. All right, I know you got a dip. I want to give you a shout out on your podcast. Dude, the podcast was awesome. I went back and listened to one of your episodes. It was the year in review, 2022.
Cool.
Yeah, dude, I love the idea. Going out and taking complex ideas, dumbing them down. I know, I'm not a technological guy, but this whole new AI world, I think it's kind of perfect timing for you guys. I think everybody's kind of starting to get interested in this AI world, but no one really knows how to, take that information and apply it. So I love what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Appreciate that. It's, again, start as just a passion between my buddy and I. We love talking about tech and love explaining it to each other. And we're
Yeah.
Similar to you guys with this conversation, let's turn on the mics and record it and see if there's people in the world who want to listen to it.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Thank you for your time, Daniel.
Yeah,
Thanks,
appreciate
Daniel.
it.
Have a good one.
All right. Okay. So we'll give Daniel a shout out. We'll link his podcast in the description. Thanks for coming on, man. All right,
Yeah.
Connor, how do you think that went?
Yeah, I think it was great. Yeah, he's a smart dude. Like the way he like connected all the thoughts together, like almost instantaneously. Yeah, it's kind of like the engineer mind, but I love it. I love it. It was really good, and I think he gives some like pretty actionable insight. I think like his insight on like mentors and how to be a good mentee. It's not something I think about a ton. So I think that was some definitely like actionable insight that I'm gonna take home.
Yeah, I think the mentor thing I hadn't thought about, so that's gonna be key moving forward, especially for Sean. I think just providing value. That's what we said we would do, and we got to deliver. So
Yep.
that's gonna be our thing. We haven't gotten an email back from Sean, and then I also wanted to say, like, to me, the combination of the entrepreneur mindset with the engineer mindset is probably the top mindset you can have, honestly. Like the inventor plus sales guy plus creative thinking. Like you said, the way he was talking, you could see he like kind of pieces things together in his mind. So I've always thought that's kind of one of the best ways to think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the add value piece. Yeah, we gotta really think about that before we hop on with Sean. What are some ways you think we can add some value?
I mean, let's think about it. I think we should go back, listen to the part where you DM'd him about, where he says, "I want to talk to young kids," because I think we can't give him stuff that he can find on his own, or that he knows by himself. Like, he wants to be around us because we're young and because we see the world in a different way, or because we're part of a different community. And so, like, as much as I hate to say it, he doesn't care if we're starting a newsletter because, he's already done that. He understands that world. Like all these guys that he's taken under his wing, they've been good at something that he hasn't been good at. So he got the TikTok guy, the website guy, the course guy, like all these things. People threw him a pitch. Daniel, right? Like they convinced him that he could provide value in some way. And so I don't know. Like my initial thought was, let's just brainstorm and come up with ideas and do the normal thing, like you said, like the My First Million. But the My First 1,000 version. I don't know if that's good enough. Like I don't know if just throwing him a bunch of ideas is good enough. Maybe he would find it interesting to hear about what ideas someone our age has, but I don't know. Like I guess your email was kind of vague in that point of what exactly he gets. Like you left it up to him, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard for us to prepare and have something. Yeah.
I think based on that podcast, I think you said it, but I think just he's in a world. Like think about his world. Like he's in like this like tech world. He's in his mid 30s, so low 30s, young 30s. All his friends are like in a similar age group, and so I think they've got a very different outlook and are interested in different things. So what is it that we're interested in, or even if we're not interested in it, what are things that people our age are interested in that aren't people in that circle aren't interested in? And I think we just got to talk about those. And then even like I think for Sean, I think something that's like valuable is like he's mentioned a few times recently, like he's looking to like either acquire or like invest in smaller businesses. So why don't we come up with go and find some startups that would be good investments?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah, I was thinking like we got to pitch him on some ideas. That's one. Dude, I don't know, like the more like amazing job to get him to respond, but like what the heck do we do now? Because we left it up to him to say, this value that you get is up to you. Well, that's not going to fly, If that happens on one call and we don't provide any value, he's not going to be a big fan of that. So
I know, dude. I'm nervous.
I feel the pressure, man.
I do too. It's like I go to sleep thinking about it, and then I wake up thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, what are we gonna do? Eric too. Part of my worry is like Eric is not like a listener of the pod. Like he listened to one episode, and I don't think he has any idea who we're talking to. So like we've got to like fill him in somehow and get him to understand the weight of this conversation.
We need to get on call, me, you, and Connor, and just see how things flow, because I think it'll take some getting used to. Between the three of us. And the other thing is, for Connor, this might not even be not for Connor. For Eric, my bad. It's past the time I'm usually logged off. But for Eric, he's got 2 million followers, 2.8 million followers on TikTok. Like he can kind of talk to most people he wants, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like who knows? He meets cool people all the time.
Yeah. A little bit stressful, but it's good.
We can be like, yeah, dude, your e-commerce business sucks. Here's how we'd fix it. No, we wouldn't say like that. We'd be something like, hey, you should let us do this with your e-commerce business because these are, this is what we do. Here's our ideas. Blah blah blah. Like this is what's worked for a couple people in the past. That's one idea.
Yeah, I think you can definitely have some good insight on that. I'm going to be really stressed once we get, well, if we get a response.
Yeah, imagine
mean,
I've played through the scenarios where Ben responds is like, "Can you hop on in 10?" Question mark, question mark.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
And then at that point, I'm sleeping or something, you're just panicking like
I'm like, what would I mean, I would just hop on. I would just wing it. I'd just wing it.
Would you? You'd go by
I would.
yourself?
Totally, yeah. I'm not going to hop on.
Damn. That's
Wouldn't
crazy.
you?
I don't know because I'd be like, "Oh, what about tomorrow?"
Dude, I would hop on and make a fool out of myself. Dude, I do not do well. I do not do well in like not high, actually, I do very well in high pressure situations. I don't do well like speaking to somebody that like intimidates me. Even like Daniel, even
Yeah.
sometimes when I was talking, I would just like almost go blank. I'm like, shit, like, what am I even saying?
Yeah.
But dude, I feel like, did you notice that with me?
I did notice it, yeah. I don't
No,
know
that's
if you could see it if it wasn't me, if I wasn't your friend, I don't know if I would have noticed it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like
that's
I
so
was
poor.
kind of guiding the conversation. He talked to solid amount, which was good. When you said you're gonna make a fool out of yourself, I just had this mental image come into my head of Connor and Sean, like my first million, on the pod, and then like, Connor just like doing like a monkey dance on his bed or something. Like, Sean, I can't provide you any value except to make you laugh, and that is what I'm gonna do. That's
That
kind of
is
how I see that conversation going down.
that is hilarious. It's so funny, dude. So what did you know? What specifically did you notice?
Just that you weren't jumping in. There was a couple of opportunities for you to say something. Like it seemed like you wanted to say something, but you weren't jumping in. Yeah. I think just that.
I had so many things that I wanted to talk about. I was like in my mind deciding where I wanted to take the conversation, and then before I could decide, like in a good way, you took over. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, let's talk about this, which is great. Like I'm glad you did. But it was
Yeah.
like I was like, I want to ask about his current relationship with the investors, like what was their response, like how to deal with it when like he wasn't making any money. But then it was also like I want to ask about the next projects, and there were a million questions.
All right, man. You want to talk about anything else?
Dude, yes, pull up that Notion I shared with you.
Okay. Notion. Got it.
Okay, what do you think about this format? Like, do you think I could actually sell this? Sell it like this?
So this is literally just a chart showing company name and then another column with the enterprise pricing.
Kind of, not quite. So, like, yes, this is so. I think the main value that the people are going to get out of it is like the enterprise pricing. That's what's hidden. You can
Okay.
find like other pricing, whatever. Enterprise pricing, that's where they're going to get value. So that's why I have it set up like this. But then if you click on the company, so if you like hover
Yeah.
over Confluence,
Summary.
click open,
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I've got a summary, and then like in Confluence, if you click that link, it'll take you to their pricing page where it shows the pricing for like all the lower tier stuff. I'm just thinking this is kind of like whoever, like executives or whatever, sales teams, whatever it is, like CRO, they can just have here and have consolidated information on all the competitors within a couple clicks. And then you've got like I said, I think the most important piece of it is enterprise pricing. So that's why that's at the front.
Okay, so essentially you're just they pay you and then you just share this information with them. You share the link to the Notion page.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll maybe like enable up to like 10 users. I'll probably upgrade to like a business profile. So, it wouldn't be just like me sending you a link. Like it'll be more official than that. But yeah, like pretty much this will be
Okay.
the equivalent of my website.
Okay, I think there's a couple of holes. Let me point out one. When a company wants to know the pricing, they want to know the pricing for a specific thing. So for example, they're comparing CRMs. So they're comparing HubSpot versus Salesforce versus whatever else. They only care about those things for that, and they only want to pay for that much. They don't care about ClickUp, Bloomfire, Coda, Gitbook, whatever else. They want to know something for that specific thing. And so I think you'd have to provide more value than just the enterprise pricing, because they can theoretically just hop on 3 demo calls and know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if you so first you need to segment into like, you want to learn about this category, here's this, here's the information for this. I also don't know if having it on a Notion page is best. I think I would write it out in a kind of fancy PDF and send it over to them to read over, or some sort of video that summarizes it.
Well,
Maybe
here's the
both.
tough thing. I want
Yeah.
it because because yeah, like when you think CRM, like there's only like a couple like big guys, but I think they want to know the pricing of like a lot of CRMs. I think there's more than just a couple,
Yeah.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be really hard to do in a PDF style document. My thought with Notion is it acts like a website. Like it's like you've got your homepage, which lists all the enterprise pricing, but then you've got like the details, which if you want to look at a specific company, click on the details. That gives you a link to their website. Like everything is consolidated. PDF, like there's none, there's none of that.
Okay, here's my concern. And by the way, I like your idea, but I'm just playing, the
No,
devil's
no, I
advocate,
want this.
right?
This
So,
is exactly what I
okay,
wanted. This is exactly what I wanted.
perfect. Just want to make that clear. So I think enterprise companies that are going to be spending a lot of money theoretically on the service, they want to see high quality, right? They care about
Yep.
they care about it being quick and easy over the cost. So they'd rather pay more and have it look nice and have everything work well. And so I think that's the issue with having it on a Notion page. I think that's just they would expect that from a kid, right? And so you don't want to play into that. You want to play into the premium, we do all this stuff for you, kind of thing. I think the other thing you can do, cold email the guy who gave this idea and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I wouldn't say I'm thinking about doing this. I would say something like, I've already started. I have a couple questions. List out your questions. Be like, can we hop on a call? If not, can you reply to this? Can you reply to these questions? Something like that. That's what I would do. Can try doing it with Sean too, but again, I don't know. That's
No,
kind of separate.
definitely this. Yeah, it's separate. I'll email the CB Insights guy.
CB Insights guy.
Remember his name.
Yeah, because I don't know. It seems too basic to just be like, Confluence is $100, Notion is $200. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like I think it needs to be. I'm not sure. Also, by the way, how did you figure out the price for this one?
This one was actually just on the website, but you had to like kind of dig for it. Like you had to like input a number of users, like a certain tier, and then it showed it.
Okay, here's what I think you need to do. First thing, go to CB Insights. Don't email the guy. Look at his reports that he sends out. So,
oh yeah,
I think you want to model it like him, dude. Like, why do something new? Just copy what you know works. So do that. Figure it out. Send those, share those with me, and we can chat about those. And then after that, if you have a clear path going forward, whatever challenges you still have, cold email the guy. Cold email him 100 times. Cold email. Connect with all of the people in his LinkedIn connections, and then when it shows that you have 500 matching connections, I don't know, man. Like figure out a way to talk to that guy, and I think that's the way to go.
Send a 2-cent Venmo.
Here's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. Hey, one other idea I just had. I think there's probably a way to embed a Notion page into a new website so that it literally is Notion but functions in like a separate domain. I think that's a good idea too. Because I think Notion's really simple, really easy to use, and pretty intuitive. So I think that's a pro. But yeah, that's some really good input. I'm gonna go check out CB Insights now.
Yep. By the way, another thing you can do is there's a website that says like, what is this? And you just paste the link to the company, and it spits out like a couple sentence summary of what the company does.
You're kidding me.
Based on the landing page.
That's what I just paid for. That's hilarious.
Yep. And I was also going to say the other thing you can do is just get a list of companies and then just paste it in ChatGPT and say, hey, actually, I tried this. I tried to ask ChatGPT and they wouldn't summarize it for me. So
they wouldn't?
I think if you paste the link into ChatGPT, it will. So there's another way to do it.
I'm trying this.
Yeah. So I think you can just paste a ton of links and then just say, summarize and explain for this in an easy to understand way and do this for all of them and make it in a visually pleasing format, something like that.
Dude, that's awesome. Hey, so sorry, do you have to run? Do you have a couple minutes still?
Yeah, a couple. Yeah.
Cool. I'll keep it short. So I think you're right. I think you're right about like just pricing. Like that's not enough. Like they can go and get that information pretty easily. Maybe some will be lazy enough to pay, but like not many. What's some other like key information that you think like would be useful? Like,
okay, so think about the process that takes a long time. Getting on the demo call, talking everything, asking the specific questions that's towards each company's need. And so what you need to do is figure out what those are. For example, does this integrate with blank? And it's not on their website. Then you need to figure that out. You have to ask them that on a call. You have to spend your time to do all this. You have to run through everything. Asking for discounts, figure out if there's, I think that's a huge thing. Be like, this company will give you a discount. This one won't. This one will give it to you after 1 year. This one will give it to you over 100 users. I think discounts, that could be a big thing.
Contract length.
Because,
contract length.
when the guy was saying pricing, I don't think it means like just give them the one pricing. Be like, here's what companies typically pay in this range. You know, a couple ways that we saw that people paid less was by doing X, X, and X. That's a couple thoughts. In terms of other things that you need to include in this report, I would say customer service, you know, speed of response. That's probably something they could find themselves. NPS, if you don't know what NPS score is, look that up. I think it's something like that to do with customer service. Ease of canceling, speed of implementing it. So that's a huge thing. Like one of the biggest things that company look for is how easy is this to implement, how much time is it going to take to implement, etc. Is this going to cause any issues with what we're using right now? I'm sure there's more. That's what I got.
Money. It's really good. Cool. I love it.
All right, man.
Got anything else?
Nope, I got overrun.
Boom. All right. What time is it there? Is it like
9:20.
Nice. Do you have a set like go to bedtime and wake up time?
Yeah, so 10:30, and then I wake up at 6.
Nice. That's pretty good. You work out in the morning?
Yep. So I go, and I'm usually there like 6:30 to 7:30.
Nice.
Usually.
That's awesome. All right, dude. Peace. That was a good call. Thanks for hopping on. And thanks for setting that up with Daniel. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. We gotta try to get a couple more people on here.
Yeah. I agree. All right, dude. Peace.
See ya.